All right, welcome everybody to my channel. It is April 15th, 2021, and let's jump right into today. What we're talking about. We're talking about this guy right here and this guy right here. Now, for those of you who don't know, this man right here is James O'Keefe. He is the CEO of Project Veritas. Veritas is an extension of, I would say, right-wing conservative news. Somewhere there around there on the spectrum. Now, this gentleman right here, interesting. He is a man called Charles Chester. He is from CNN, and he is a technical director. So you may be asking, what is a technical director? Well, in a technical director, any individual from the sponsoring company, which would be CNN, who serves as a technical point of contact for the team, represents the company's interests, directs the team as they work on a project, and facilitates technology transfer during the project. So, Chester's got a pretty important job at CNN. No doubt about that. Now, I tried to go and look in Charlie's LinkedIn, but it is actually gone. It has been erased from LinkedIn. Surprising. But there is an article here. I'm reading this from the iPad. It says, since the footage of Chester discussing CNN was released, he has deleted his LinkedIn profile, which showed his connection to the media company. Before Chester deleted his LinkedIn, it was reported that his bio listed him as CNN's technical director. It also states that he's worked for CNN since May of 2018. Prior to that, Chester worked at Caliber Comics. So that was a big jump. Between 2010 and 2018, he also worked as a director for QVC. I think Chester should have stayed at QVC. But anyways, let's get into the video here. And the article talks a little bit about what this video is about. I don't think I'm going to go through the whole thing. But he got into talking about... Now let's set the stage for you here. Chester is on a Tinder date with what I can only assume would be a undercover reporter for Project Veritas. It's a female. You can tell by her voice. At least I assume. I'm never sure these days, but I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say it's a female. And he goes into talk about what his job is at CNN, what he does, but he also elaborates on that and goes into the specifics of his job at CNN and his agenda that he's pushing. So right here, it's talking about Chester know that conservatives, quote unquote, would pounce if what was reported that black people were the ones committing hate crimes because it wouldn't coincide with the Black Lives Matter. Now, what is he talking about? He's talking about the previous line that he used right here. I was trying to do some research on, like, the Haitian 8. Like, the people are getting attacked and whatnot. A bunch of black men have been attacking Asians. Now, watch how he says this in the video. Hang on one second. But he's like, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we are trying to help BLM, Chester said in the video. So let's listen to this clip real quick that I'm going to play.
I was trying to do some research on, like, the Asian hate, like the people are getting attacked or whatever. A bunch of black men that have been attacking Asian. So I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we're trying to, like, help, like, with the BLM, and, like, you're gonna, like, I mean, it's individuals, it's not a people, you know. That's not good. The optics of that are not good.
Okay, so stop right there. Pause. The optics are not that good. Really, Chester. This is unbelievable. And, you know, anyone who's been watching the news recently is well aware of the people that we are seeing get arrested. It's not making it to mainstream media. You won't see it on ABC or CBS or NBC or CNN or any of those stations for that matter. But anybody who's been paying attention has just noticed a continued trend. Now, I used to live in California. There is a very heavy Asian population in Southern California, and there's also a very large, primarily black part of the part of the demographics of Southern California. So, anyways, they have not liked each other for a long time. And this is something that is very well known in both communities. This isn't a big surprise to anyone. So the fact that he's going on here and saying, basically, hey, I don't want to go and report on the crimes because it's not showing what our news is telling people. We are telling people that this is white supremacy and it's white people that are committing these crimes, but in reality, it's really not. Okay, it's a primarily black community that is committing crimes against the Asian community, but that doesn't work with his narrative, right? So they can't report that. He's got to push a different agenda. It goes on here in the article, and then the undercover Project Veritas reporter then asked Chester if it's quote-unquote normal for the mainstream media to only focus on the skin color of a mass shooter if the suspect is white. And what did Chester have to say? Let's play this.
These little things like that are enough to set back movements, because the far left will start to latch on and create a story of like criminalizing an entire people, just easier headlines that way, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
So you're saying that the far left would label a whole genre of people? I kind of miss your point.
That like, no, the conservatives. I'm sorry, not the far left. But I've noticed that like you'll get headlines that might lump people together as opposed to focusing on the individual. I mean, that's what Trump ended up doing with like the China virus, and that put so much blame on an entire group of people as opposed to a few careless individuals.
Right, the actual source, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but is it normal for the media to like, so say there's a white shooter, black shooter, which one are we gonna, like?
Yeah, for the longest while, like the story was like people were like lapping up that it was like white guys for like so long.
All right, so let's stop this for a second. So basically here, people, CNN is saying that you're a bunch of dogs. You're lapping it up. Okay, what's that referring to? He's saying that the people who are watching CNN, our consumers, our clients, are a bunch of dogs. You're lapping it up.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything about focusing on the color of people's skin that aren't white. They just aren't saying anything. You know what I mean? They're just not. All of a sudden, that story loses a little steam, and they just like leave it be.
Why?
Okay, so we saw that he talked about the virus a little bit, and that saying that it was from Asians, or that originated in China was didn't get any. It got no coverage. Let's just finish this real quick. Well, this last thing. I think I'm going to cut him off early.
I don't know. I think it's got to be trends, like what people will latch onto,
So he's calling you guys stupid, pretty much. He's saying our demographics are so stupid, and the people who watch our channel are so dumb. They don't know the difference. They don't see that we bury stories here and we prop other ones up. Okay, so what am I getting at here? Well, first things first. So Twitter came out today and has banned tech giant James O'Keefe, who is the founder of Project Veritas. And there's a quote here, Twitter accused of protecting CNN after tech giants bans James O'Keefe. Well, yeah, of course he is. Of course they're protecting him. Why else all of a sudden today his channel gets banned from Twitter? So it says there, critics accused Twitter Thursday of banning Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe from its platform over the right-wing guerrilla news outlet's damning expose of CNN. So I'm telling you right here what it is. It is damning. You got to be kidding me. What this guy just said, if CNN isn't off the air on Monday, then it's a national travesty. Okay? Project Veritas relaunched its Expose CNN campaign this week by sharing footage of CNN technical director Charles Chester revealing the liberal network's dirty laundry. Excuse me. In the footage, Chester claimed that CNN's focus during the 2020 election campaign was to get rid of President Trump, that the network hyped its coronavirus coverage for gangbuster ratings, and that's it, aims to help Black Lives Matter. So for all your dum-dums out there that are still wearing masks and you've gotten your double shots, the double jabs, and you're still wearing masks, you can thank CNN and this coverage. You know, and I don't understand, where is CNN's ticker? Because we're going to go to CNN in a minute. All of a sudden, that just disappeared. But we're in morbid danger right now. But all of a sudden, the ticker's gone. I found that interesting. On Thursday, O'Keefe's Twitter account, which was sharing Project Veritas reporting, was permanently suspended over alleged use of quote-unquote fake accounts. So they're saying here that O'Keefe apparently engaged in some clandestine operations to make fake channels of Project Veritas. I don't believe that for a second. I think it is exactly what you see it is. He exposed CNN's ass, and now Twitter is banning him. They're all on the same team. He's absolutely right, 1,000%. And right now, Charlie Chester here, the CNN technical director, have you ever stepped in a big pile of dog shit and then you get in someone's car and you kind of get that feeling it's you. Maybe you smell it first, but everyone in the car starts to smell it, and you got to admit, hey, it was me. You got to pull over. I got to get this off. I stepped in a nice fresh dog shit. Well, that's Charlie Chester right now. Okay, instead of his Tinder date, instead of taking her home, he stepped in a fresh pile of it and brought it into CNN. And here's the results. So instead of CNN coming out or Twitter coming out and damning what the man has said, like they would do if this was, I don't know, maybe the gentleman they're talking about here, Tucker Carlson. Instead of doing that, they come out and what? Twitter bans him so that he doesn't have a platform to speak anymore. So Twitter, and now along with CNN, you can't say you're the most trusted source for news. First of all, you actually have to be giving us the news, which you don't do. And second, how can anyone trust you anymore after watching what we just watched? How can you? And then to top it all off, they have the audacity here. I'll play a little bit of this video. This is the gift that keeps on giving. We all know Mr. Brian Stelter here. He's speaking here with Fox News about the Fox News show about a replacement for Tucker Carlson, or getting rid of Tucker Carlson, and he's talking to the Anti-Defamation League CEO Jonathan Greenblatt, and they're talking about Carlson's rhetoric here. All right, so let's listen to a little bit of this charm that these two come up with. Now, mind you, this is a couple days before this video was leaked. But look at the direction they're taking in the conversation and how they're talking about Carlson's conspiracy theories. Let's listen.
With me for an exclusive interview is Jonathan Greenblatt. He's the CEO and National Director of the Anti-Defamation League. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
You penned a letter to Fox News Media CEO Suzanne Scott on Friday saying Carlson's been race baiting for years and it's time for him to go. Have you heard back from Fox yet? What has Fox said back to you since Friday?
Well, look, it's Sunday morning. We were closed yesterday for Shabbat, and we sent this out Friday afternoon. So we haven't heard anything yet. But I'll tell you why, if we step back, this is so problematic. And as you pointed out, Tucker Carlson has a history of sanitizing stereotypes and of spreading this kind of poison.
Oh, like your technical director?
It really was, indeed, as you put it, a new low. The great replacement theory, as it's known, is this toxic idea that there are a cabal of Jews plotting to overrun the country with immigrants, Muslims, black people, etc., and commit what they call white genocide. It is literally, Brian, a staple of white supremacist and extremist ideology.
Right, because Tucker thinks we should have a wall so that we can keep migrants from just blindly crossing into the country. That's a white supremacist ideology because Tucker and his listeners or his viewers would like to have some security at the southern border and don't want to see little kids stacked up like a box of pencils on top of each other. So because, and he's also been talking, forever about the way that letting all of these people into the country and setting them up to succeed, which there's nothing wrong with that. They're just doing it illegally. And that's the problem, okay? The problem is they're doing it illegally. I don't think anybody has a problem, certainly not for little kids who could have died trying to come here. I mean, my heart goes out to those people. But they're not doing it the right way. And there's no one to blame but the Democrats themselves. They can't point the finger at anybody. We didn't have a vast wave of migration in 2020 when Trump was still in the White House. I don't care what stats you're going to look at. I'm telling you right now. Because believe me, if we had a problem at the border, the media would have been all over it. Okay? They would have been ripping Trump apart up and down. He would have been barraged with questions doing interviews, and I didn't hear a peep about that. Okay? But because he's no longer in office now, no one wants to admit that it's a problem. Let's go back to Mr. Greenblatt, see what else he has to say.
And so when Tucker Carlson literally introduces it to his 4.5 million viewers, he's serving as a gateway to one of the most damaging and dangerous conspiracy theories out there. And when I say that, again, let me be clear, this has real consequences. From 2017, the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, where this phrase was invoked, remember, Jews will not replace us. And then Heather Heyer was mowed down and murdered. To the shooting at the Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018, where 11 worshipers were killed. To the
right, because that was Tucker's fault. That was Tucker Carlson's fault that guy went off and shot those poor people in the Jewish synagogue in Pittsburgh. He was pushing that agenda, right? He's been pushing that.
Shooting the following year in Christchurch, where 51 people were killed, Muslim worshipers.
Apparently, he has a lot of pull in New Zealand as well. So it's not just an American thing here. They're going all the way across as far away possible as you can get from the United States to pull examples of how Tucker Carlson is inciting the right here.
To the murders in El Paso, where 20 some odd Latino people were killed. Again and again and again, it is the replacement theory that's been invoked by these extremist murderers. So when Tucker Carlson invokes it on his show, when he dismisses it, right, it is so dangerous. And I think, as you pointed out, the question is really from Fox management to the Fox board to Fox shareholders. How can they countenance their network being used to mainstream the most violent and toxic ideas?
Well, I guess now you gotta include CNN with that too. So CNN, if you're listening, which I doubt you are, you gotta do the same thing. If you're gonna listen to this clown and his opinion on what Tucker Carlson's show is about, well then, hey, you gotta do the same thing for CNN. You cannot have people donating to CNN when we got this gentleman over here who's a technical director running the narrative for CNN and telling them what to report on and what not to report on, what to bury and what to bring to the surface, okay? So, as of right now, hey, if you want to say that about Fox, fine, but you got to include yourself in that group too, okay? Brian and Tucker, maybe you got to put them in the same category. I think that their approach is totally different. I have a strong feeling I know their agenda is completely different. They have two completely different ideologies, okay?
As you say, there is a long history of Carlson's racist comments. I was about to say racially charged, but there's no reason to beat around these bushes.
No, of course not CNN. No, Brian, you would never, right?
From the past, Remember, his top writer resigned last year after secretly posting racist and sexist remarks.
All right, that's enough. Before I throw up in my mouth, that's enough. Anyways, so I wanted to pop this video up, tell you what was going on behind the scenes here with CNN, and also, you know, how they're on this. They got this hit squad out to get Tucker off the air, and Mr. Chester here and his Tinder date, which turned into a big pile of fresh dog doo-doo. Anyways, guys, have a good night. I'll catch you on the flip side.